Welcome, heroes. In this video, we're going to be going over 3 simple miniature painting tips that I wish I knew when I started painting as a beginner 5 or so years ago. And to demonstrate those tips, we will be painting up the Iron Lich Viscerat. He's from HeroScape. Fantastic game, so much fun. If you don't know anything about it, check out some of the other videos. And if you want to get some, I do have an affiliate link in the description, so you can get yourself either this guy and his little Wraith Riders, which I'll be painting those soon as well, or any of the other new stuff that's coming out or already came out. I also have links for all the paint stuff that I use, so if you want to find yourself that stuff on Amazon, you can check that out too. Let's get to painting.
All right, first off, bonus tip, always prime your minis, just make for a better base. Set the mood. I don't know, I did that. All right, starting off with tip 1, choosing colors and testing those colors. When you start off, at least for me, when I started painting, I was scared to waste my paint. And so I had a really hard time picking the paints for what I wanted. It always helps if you have some card art or something that you want to go off of. So I looked at the art, I grabbed every color that I had pretty much in those different styles that looks close to it. And then once I have those all picked out, then you take that and just put it on a test piece. So I got a piece of plastic I use for dry brushing and other things, and so I got it all set up the same way that the mini will be painted, and then I take each of the colors and I just test it to see if it's gonna stand out and look the way I want, because the color on the bottle itself and the color in the bottle doesn't always look the same once you put it down onto your mini. So I tried the 3 here. The fire giant orange on the left looks closest to the card art, but I do end up going with the color on the right, the nuclear sunrise, just because I like the more drab look for the mini, and something just a little different. And then here I'm trying out all the different grays and the metallic silvers, which I was just wondering if the gray would look all right, but I really like the way the metallic is shiny, so I end up going with taking both of those metallics to two different styles. So here's most of the colors I got. So there's for the base and the dry brush, and then we have a couple colors I choosed out. I was going to try some dry rust. I ended up not using the dry rust actually. All right, so tip 2 for beginners and other people who have never tried it, slap chopping and speed paint is a game changer. If I had been doing this when I first started painting, it would have made it so much faster, easier, and more enjoyable to get started painting, and less intimidating, because you don't have to do all of the thinning paints, mixing paints as much, or get a wet palette. There's just a lot of little things and details they don't realize you have to do until you start doing it to do a really good job. Plus your base coat, you got to put the base coat on. Most of the time one coat's not enough, so you got to do multiple coats, and then you want to do layering so it just looks better, and highlighting, and then you usually put a wash on. You have to go back and add some more, so it's just a lot of steps. So if you do the slap chop, you prime it black, and then you dry brush it gray, dry brush it white, and then you put your speed paint down. And your speed paints, if you can color in the lines, basically is what it is, and that's it. Because it does the base coat, it does a wash, and because of the undercoat, it's kind of like a highlight as well in the raised areas. So, and you don't have to put on multiple coats. I mean, you could add some more coats if you're trying to achieve some different look, but at the end of the day, really one coat and it's done. So it just makes it so much faster and easier. And so if you're trying to speed paint a bunch of armies, that's probably a good way to go. Or if you're just starting out, that's my recommendation for sure, to get started that way. So now I'm just getting the speed paint, applying it. So like I said, I got the nuclear sunrise here, and I just really like this kind of orange looking color, because it wasn't super bright, but it also gives it kind of more of a drab, battle worn look, being a little darker, and just looks a little different. it's nice to do some different styles and colors. And that's what's really fun about painting that I enjoy, is once you kind of get past the initial figuring out what the heck you're doing, then you start experimenting a little bit, and then you end up getting your own unique results. And it's very fulfilling. See, check that lake out. Yeah, once that dries up, that looks super good. I really like the way this turned out with this color. So speed painting, definitely something I'd recommend for sure. And there's multiple brands that sell it too. I use Army Painter speed paints, but I know like Citadel has some. They're like called contrast paints. And I think there's some other brands. I'm pretty sure Vallejo has them as well. But again, I like using the Army Painter. So you can always pick some of that up off of Amazon too. I got some links in the description if you want to get some of those speed paints. Definitely recommend them. And if you have any questions too, like if you're getting into it, you can message me, I'll be happy to help out. So now it's time to get the silver on there. The silver speed paints, I like them, but they do cover up more of the under dry brush. So it kind of takes away a little bit of that highlight. It still comes through a little bit, but just something to keep in mind. You may even want to thin these ones out a little bit. So when you usually get a set of speed paints, it comes with a medium, so you can thin things out a little bit, which I didn't really do that here, but I may next time. The next part is filling in those little highlights for the glowy little spots, which turns out decent, but I ended up not loving it because it wasn't bright enough. So I actually go back and hit them again, but I hit them with I put some white in there, and then I put that teal color back in there, and it makes it pop a lot more. So that's just little things you can do sometimes, because that's what speed paints. The main thing is the undercoat, your prime or whatever, your dry brush really matters, because if you do it just white or you do it just black, it makes a big difference on how it's going to look, because it's very reliant on that dry brush priming. So I'm just hitting the little bits everywhere, making sure that there's a little bit of contrast. I mean, the silvers are super close, those two metallics, but there is a difference you can slightly note. So it does give it a little different look, which having a contrast is super good, especially when there's a lot of the same colors. And I go back and hit all these little bolt things, so that gives it a little bit more detail as well. It really stands out. And when you're painting, focusing on the details, certain details like the face, the weapons, certain parts of the unique things of the unit will make it stand out as well on the table. Okay, now I go with some matte white and just get his teeth. That little detail is a big deal, I think. Definitely makes him stand out, looks mean. And then I was just looking over it, and it's just a little too dull in a few places, so you're taking some shiny silver metallic and do some edge highlighting. You just rub the edge of your brush on some of the different corners, and then I took that same shiny silver and just went and hit some of the tops and some more of the edges of different parts of the model, kind of where you would think that maybe the light would be hitting. It's just highlighting those spots with this and kind of focusing a little bit on the edges, because it just brings out a little bit more of that contrast, getting the edges on these little piston things. And then this part, I felt like there's just a little too much silver going on, so I took some Grim Black speed paint and came back and hit a few of these details with black. And then right here, this is when I noticed that bluish teal wasn't really popping, so I brought in some matte white, filled in each of the little holes with some matte white, and then went back and hit it with the teal color so that it would pop a lot more with that undercoat of white, which it turned out just the way I wanted. Alright, so tip 3 here is basing your miniatures. There's a lot of people just paint them plain, but adding some base to your miniature, I think, finishes it out, gives it a better theme, and really makes it stand out on the table. So here you just got some basing material. I printed off these little stalactites or stalagmites to give it that cave look, because you looked at the art and it kind of looks like he's in a cave or something. So, and then here just add a little bit more paste to your glue, and then add little rocks. They're actually, they're not rocks, it's like bark or something. So really you can go out in the yard and probably pick up anything you want, clean it up, sanitize it, and then stick it on your bases. So I got a couple rocks. Now you want to take and just kind of fill in some more space with the glue so that you can add more dirt or rocks to it. So I'm just going around here getting everything covered, and this is just play sand that I had a bag of, so I just took some to my paint desk, add the play sand, dump it all over, flick it off, and then you're gonna have a nice rocky terrain. And then I took here some bluish gray speed paint. The speed paint's really good for the terrain and all those rocks because it like acts like a wash. It just seeps into the cracks. And just from the card art, it looked like that. It was a little bluish. So here I got some dark stone, and I'm doing a little bit of testing, going, all right, is this going to be the color I want? And it looks pretty good, so I decided to go with it. So here I'm just hitting edges with the dry brush, doing the dry brush effect. It's a little easier to do and just kind of highlights a lot of the little spots that stick out. So then I took the dark stone again, but added some gray to it to get it to increase the level of light. So on this, I only hit more of the tips and the very edge of the rock. I'm not kind of going everywhere. That way I won't cover up everything I've just done. And then I go one more time, adding a little bit more gray, working my way up, and hit the very tips again. And you always want to make sure you don't have too much on your brush because it will just paint instead of highlight. So there it is. And now the edge, I like to paint black. Just gives a very good contrast. And then I always put a protectant varnish on it. There's gloss, there's matte, there's satin. I like the satin, it's kind of in between. It also really enriches the colors. And there you have it. Look at that base. Looks really good. And this guy's so big. Yeah, I back up the camera here. There we go. He is all done. Looking mean. And I don't know, I really like the way he turned out. So if you like that paint scheme, go ahead and go for it. I also had some people in the last videos comment asking to do some side-by-side comparisons. So here's the pre-painted version. He's a lot more yellow, as you can see, and just a little bit more grayish dull. So with the metallic, it makes it a lot more shiny, which I really like the look of that. So now you can kind of see them both side by side and kind of compare. I think either way is a great way to go. There it is right there. I'm pre-painted. This is going to save you a lot of time and it honestly money for how much it takes to get into painting. But if you want to get into painting, get into painting. So there's our finished mini, a nice photo op. If you like this video, check out one of these other painting videos over here or some other videos over there. Thanks for watching and be the hero of game night.